call to order the meeting
Yep.
On January 16, 6 p.m. There's nobody here for a public comment, so I think we can skip over to review and approve the minutes for the November 7, 2024 meeting.
And those were given to you in your last
Last
packet.
meeting, yep.
So, and I
Anybody
know
has any
Charlie
questions?
didn't have a chance to review them then.
Just reviewed them.
Okay.
All right, motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
All right, so next up is the minutes for the December 5 meeting. I know everybody just got them.
So if you want to table.
We want to table it until next meeting for approval?
I just read, if it's right here on the table, I just looked at it, I don't have trouble.
I do want to point out, the minutes do show that Rebecca Hoyt is absent, and we want just the name to be removed.
That's right. So do we need to,
So it can, if you choose to approve the minutes, it would be done so with the condition that that take place.
Go ahead.
No, I wasn't gonna say anything.
All right, I'll make a motion as said.
I'll second. All in
all in
favor?
agreement?
Okay.
Aye.
Okay, so that was right there.
All right, so moving on, I think the big topic for today's meeting, need to discuss about the housing forum. A few items, right? How do we want to structure that? Who do we want to invite as speakers? And then come up with a date and time to hold that forum.
Well, I think the date and time, or the time we might be able to set, maybe not the date, because that's meeting space availability. I mean, it could be in one of our community center spaces. It could be up in the council chambers. So there's different options there. So, I mean, if we can get a date, we can get a place. We can come up maybe with a few dates. I think what we need to nail down is the who, not necessarily specific individuals, but entities and topics. We need to really, if we're gonna do this, we need to
Right.
nail that down. I know we discussed CHFA, and I know we were talking about possible local lenders.
Private lenders.
So, I know that some folks here are more experienced than others in these types of things, so. if you want-
I'd like to defer that part to our real estate agents, because what's gonna be best for your clients? Because
Well,
that'll be best for us.
I think we gotta look at who's our target that we're trying to talk to. And if we're trying to offer value for citizens looking to make their housing affordable, maybe buying a house and trying to do that in an affordable way, then I think the value that we offer is to have them learn about programs that help with that, and that's CHAFA. The delivery method for CHAFA is the lenders. And we have a number of lenders that operate in town. We have in our packet the list of the lenders that use the time to own program the most. I'm not sure if this is actually lenders that use the time to own program or just lenders that use CHAFA the most. I think it might be CHFA in general, but it may also be that time to own program, which there's also information about that in the packet. But you can see there's a big disparity from some lenders that do it once or twice and others that do it, 600 times a year. And I think I would think that some of these who, even like a bank that has a branch in town, would be more than happy to come and say, hey, this is how you actually can use these services, and with the ultimate goal of informing residents, maybe neighbors, neighboring towns, anybody that would want to come nearby to say, come to Rocky Hill, use this program. It will make your housing more affordable, but remember, we also get the side benefit of anybody who buys a home and uses CHFA to purchase that home counts as affordable housing towards our affordable housing 10% goal. So if we can encourage people to use and educate people about these programs versus just trying to save up more money and getting a conventional loan or whatever, then that's good for everybody.
I just want to add something, because we talk about the word affordable, because we have affordable by statute.
Yes.
And we also have making housing more affordable or easily to be obtained.
Yes.
And we're also talking ownership. Are we talking renters as well? That's one question. And then when we talk about more affordability, we could talk about accessory dwellings, ADUs, that type of thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
That could be part of it if you want to go there.
So that,
Or are we really targeting this? So we really need to decide, as Alan says, who's the target? Is
So
it
that was-
ownership? Is it renters? Is it affordable by statute? Is it making housing more affordable, more easily to be obtained?
Yeah,
So
I think that there's a few different topics there.
Yes.
Right? And if we did all of those in one forum,
Yeah.
then 2/3 of the people would not care about
Yeah.
whatever was being talked about at one given time, because those are like three different things. It's like making rent more affordable or rental assistance, or it's purchasing a home and making that more affordable, or it's adding on to your home to help you with affordability. Like those are kind of three different things.
In the affordable housing plan that we were all given when we started this, it's like 50 pages or something. Didn't it define specifically the definitions that we could use for this purpose?
yeah,
Yeah, that would be like the
nice to cite
capital,
because that's a public document.
yeah. Okay.
and I would say one of the goals towards affordable housing in that plan
Yeah.
is CHFA lending.
Right. But see, I think we should have, we should cover all three of them, because if somebody's coming in, as you said, right, people might be absent for 2/3 of the time and they will be listening to 1/3 to what they are here for. But if we're going to just limit it to one or two segments, we could have people who just not showing up because they're like, have nothing there for me, one, or there's people showing up, but then they have nothing to take away. So I think we rather cover all three segments. There is going to be material that we can hand out to individuals, and then they can reach out to either CHFA or any of the private lenders that we're going to have here, right, to get more information or build on whatever information that they're going to gather from the forum. Just so that we are kind of, catering to all the segments rather than just one.
So are we thinking one event with 3 topics?
That's where I'm going, yes.
I would agree with you, because then we could direct it toward the public. If you are, you
There's
see
something
this,
for everybody.
You're welcome, absolutely.
and
And
I
a
think-
lot of people, I'm sorry.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
A lot of people may want to come to this without having actually decided how the direction they're going to go, especially in the immediate future. They want to see if it's available.
Right.
Let's bring them in.
So, I mean, for me, I think what that would look like would be somebody from Health and Human Services that helps with rental assistance from the town. That's easy enough.
Can the also Housing Authority can they
should
be
have
part
someone.
of this
Yeah,
as well?
Sue
for,
could
Yeah.
come.
Sue can
Yep.
come in and
Sue can come and do a brief.
yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be.
That's about.
Yeah,
I already spoke to Miss Melissa Hicks,
Yep.
head of Human Services Department, about their rental assistance and how that works. Department of Housing has some programs for that
Yeah.
as well. So
So there's that. Boom. Check 1 out of 3, right?
CHFA can speak about their overall general programs, but I think they can also speak about the accessory dwelling, which
Yeah,
Believe
I
it
don't
or
think that
not-
they would really. I don't think that they would
no,
really
no,
talk
I'm just
about
saying
that.
like they have programs where they can help finance an accessory dwelling, right? Remember?
No, I don't think so.
no,
I don't think so.
I can talk about what it is. What
You can talk about what it
accessory-
is, but also
You know.
we can find a contractor that builds them.
Yes.
And they can say,
Yeah.
this is roughly what you're looking at for cost, and this
Yeah.
is what you need to have
Talk
as a
about that,
consideration.
And we need to present what an ADU is specific to what needs to happen in the town to get it approved, because.
Well, that's
Right.
what
That's
the guy-
that's
the
that's
rules
that's
that
where
I-
Kim comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
we
what
need
I-
to
Kim
bring that
comes in.
up, just so that everyone's aware, it's just not a quick decision, I'll build
Yeah.
one.
Melissa Hicks or Health and Human Services and Sue from Housing Authority, Jaffa.
Jaffa.
I still think at least a bank or a lender to talk about what that looks like, because Jaffa doesn't actually like directly deliver any of
Yep.
that thing. They're not the customer contact. And then I think Kim and like a contractor / builder that does ADUs. We like my office had somebody come, and I'm sure there's plenty of people out there, and we'd want to get somebody that's a local contractor or something like that. Not that we're endorsing them, and not that they're like selling their services, but for information, and it's useful information, and have them talk about like, okay, well, do you have a giant garage? Can you put a suite in the garage? How much space do you need on your property to be able to put one in, and what does the cost look like? Because that's what the question most people are going to have is like, well, I want to stay in town. I have, maybe multi-generational living that I want to do, but how much is it going to cost to like put an addition on for that? I would think that's probably the barrier most people have,
Right.
which would make it more affordable for them to stay in their current house and stay in Rocky Hill.
Right. So question 1, do we have any developer who is an expert in ADUs? Does anybody over here know of somebody?
I know of one. I've got a business card on my phone. They operate here. I don't remember where they're headquartered out of. I think it may be like a Meriden or something like that. It's not. I'd prefer a local person,
I mean,
and
there
there's
are
some.
contractors in town that.
No, like a developer who kind of has experience or expertise on ADUs.
Yeah, there are contractors in town that do
There are,
this.
so you were
And yeah, well, Kim probably knows who submits the
Expertise
permits.
on which-
building accessory dwelling units.
Yeah,
There's lots of them.
yes, that's correct.
Well, I mean, I don't know anybody, so that's why I was asking, does anybody have
Well,
any contacts
yeah.
that they
Well,
can
I
reach
mean-
out to?
Carabetta is one of the largest builders in central Connecticut of housing, including affordable as defined under the regulations. They're the ones who built the tiny home, small development in Meriden. I used to know the guy who was in charge of it. I think if we said we're going to have a forum, somebody from CHFA, would he be willing to come and sit in, and what would you want to hear from him?
I mean, what goes into, the cost? I mean, obviously Kim's gonna cover the specifications
Is
of
this
it.
the cost for a buyer of a unit, or?
Buyer or somebody who wants to build one, in their existing house.
Yeah.
But you're talking about tiny homes, which,
Yeah, but they do everything. They
Yeah,
do
I mean-
subdivisions and.
yeah, but I mean, except that, a tiny home of a certain square footage under the building code, there has to be at least 400 square feet, whatever, that can be too large for some homes in town to be considered an accessory dwelling, the way our regulations are currently written. But then on the west end of town, it's fine. So we may want to have someone there to discuss tiny homes. That's a concept that planning and zoning wants to learn more about also. So they may be in attendance.
I mean, I look at
Good
this,
idea.
what you're talking about is, we're not gonna have, I hope we're not gonna have a meeting like this once, but this is a part of what would eventually fill the website, and maybe it's an annual thing, and you try to do something different. It's a
That would
sort
be
of a
nice.
cumulative development of our knowledge as a committee representing the town and get passed on to the next group of people. The market's always changing, so what might apply today might not apply tomorrow. And there's a variety of what is housing: affordable rental, affordable for sale. And with each type of market section, there are financing packages, some state, some federal. I mean, there's a whole alliteration of things. I think we need to sort of decide is, for the first one, what are we looking for? Just the CHFA helps with buyers or tenants, or developers. They have something for everyone. I'm not fully understanding what we've determined is the first priority for this first meeting. So
So that's what we want to cover all three areas, right? Rental, ownership, and the ability to add an ADU to an existing structure. And people who come in, they might be like, okay, that makes sense for me. And then you're gonna have reps from CHFA, some private lenders, some developers. They could kind of build on it, reach out to those individuals to see what would work for them. Limiting.
Yeah, I would just suggest if we have a good CHFA contact, they work with these developers continuously, that they may say, we have this entity or person who would really like to do it. If you're familiar with the vessel,
Yeah.
okay, when the guy came to present the vessel next to the liquor store here, he was very passionate about what he wanted to do. He had this idea, he looked at it as art of a type and also the social service, plus he wanted to make money. He was a pretty, I thought, engaging kind of guy. So maybe you want someone like that.
Yeah, but I think you're talking about building development of like multiple units, and we're talking about individual residents
Right.
doing something with their own property.
Yeah, well,
I think that's part
I've been
of
there and
the.
done that.
Yeah.
And the difficulty today are the codes, number one.
Right.
And financing, and whether, is there a part of the lending portfolio that lenders have? Would that be a loan that could be sold? Or does it have to be held in someone's portfolio? Or is someone gonna do it all cash? So, I'm now understanding that I'm off the mark here. For someone to do it in their own property, you need patience, you need knowledge, and you need money. Are there contractors who do things? Yeah, and there's contractors who go belly up. People take your money and then they never come back.
Well, we wouldn't want to bring one
But
of those
this-
people in.
See, the ADU is also kind of, it reduces your cost of home ownership.
It does.
So that could be an incentive for people saying like, hey, I'm paying I don't know, like,
It does, but nationally, I mean, I have a home builder friend, he'd come and do it. It- It's incredibly difficult to marshal all the stuff together. I have a fellow, he owns Woodstock Building Associates in Woodstock, Connecticut. He builds and he adds on and all that sort of stuff, does commercial. And we get together once or twice a year. And he's pretty good about talking. I think he was on the Affordable Housing Committee for Woodstock at one time. So, I mean, if you decide that's what you want, I would ask him.
That might be even, I mean, somebody that's a
President
little,
of the
some,
home builders
yeah, and
and
somebody
that-
that's a little further away might even be better, so it doesn't look like we're favorite, you know,
favoriting, yeah, anyone.
picking a
If I may.
local favorite.
Where my mind is going is this. I think this first presentation that we're going to have is directed more toward people who are looking to buy or rent locally, or redevelop their own property, like you were indicating. And apart from that, we're still looking to do this in the spring, as I understand, unless somebody else has a different idea. And in order to get this moving, I know that we have to talk with CHFA, and I have no contacts there, and I'm hoping that one of you do.
I do, I got them to.
I was trusting you.
Well, I got
Yeah,
them
they
to
came.
come to the council meeting.
Yep.
Yep.
So, and
Yeah.
there's a person you talk to.
Yep.
That's the liaison for these things, and then he in turn picks and chooses the people and gets you connected, and if that's not the right
Right.
person, he connects you to somebody else.
Do you have that with VA, the VA also? VA loans?
I do not, because I haven't
Okay.
dealt with that.
And then the other thing we're gonna need is to talk to the lenders. I know banks are Liberty, Webster, Citizens Bank, and Wells Fargo. Are there other banks locally?
We're not gonna have all of them here. We can't.
No.
Yeah,
Obviously not.
yeah.
But now's the time, since we're gonna do it in the spring,
Yeah.
I think now is when we
Yeah.
start making inquiries as to who are the hot people, who wants to help. And then,
Does it have to be a bank? I mean, I have, in my company, William Ravis Real Estate, we have our own mortgage division. Do you wanna bring in that, or just stick with banks?
Yeah, my advice would be a bank and a mortgage company
No mortgage company?
to have
right,
balance. I would say pick a bank that has a branch in Rocky Hill that does a lot of CHFA, and I don't
We
have
should get from CHFA.
this is
Yeah, we
That's a
get,
good
yeah, but
point.
we
this,
get that.
it's right here.
Get that with
So
that, yeah.
you know, just looking down it, and I don't bank with them. I have no affiliation. I know a couple people there from different committees and things,
Right.
but Liberty Bank is the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah.
6, 7 lender
Sure.
for CHFA, and they got a branch on the Silas Dean.
yep.
And then I would say, start at the top, First World Mortgage. Who's the broker who's somebody with First World Mortgage that either lives in Rocky Hill or nearby? Because they cover the whole state.
Yeah.
They might
think-
not have an office here, but
I think we absolutely have to avoid having just one lender here, because
Yeah.
otherwise we're playing
Yeah.
favorites. People will see it that way, even if we're not.
and what if they're a terrible presenter?
Yeah,
And,
Well,
and
that
now
too.
we put all our eggs in one basket and they didn't help out
Yep.
at all. So get a couple. I think if we're doing 3 different things and we're having then multiple people, I think we have to scale back each of those individual things to 1 or 2 speakers from each item, 3 at the maximum. But what are they going to talk for 5 minutes?
that makes sense,
Well, this can also just be like an introductory type,
right?
get people interested, hopefully. And
Introduction to-
then connected, like, oh gee, I want to learn more about that. Let me get your card, Mr. Man. from
Or you've got
CHFA."
a table
Precisely.
in
Yeah.
yeah okay, well listen to you talk, and then on the way out I'll grab you have a table out front and here's some information
Right.
about your company or whatever.
And I'm
That's the
happy,
trade-off.
I'd be willing to contact these 4 banks that I mentioned and just find out who in their organization we should talk to see if they're interested.
Yeah.
The other
I
thing,
imagine they wouldn't be interested, this is a good publicity for them.
it would be
Yeah.
good publicity,
Yeah.
but,
And we'll just reiterate from the jump, hey,
right,
Yeah,
this is information,
information.
You
because we
know.
haven't set a date yet.
Right.
And the other thing is, as far as advertising and getting people over here, I think it's imperative that we register people before the event. Because if we're only gonna have 4 people show up, it's not an event.
It's not gonna work.
Yep.
So let's do that. We can always cancel it or reschedule it.
yeah. If we have at least, yeah, I mean, if we have people register in advance and submit their own questions. Hey, what's something you
If
want
they
to hear
wanna do
from
that,
this?
Great,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
That also will inform
I like
Right,
why they're going to be here, and it'll give them a reason to register in advance. Hey, RSVP here, it's free, and you can, write one of your questions to make sure that it gets addressed.
yeah.
And then if we only have 2 RSVPs and it's a week away, then we know we got a problem.
Well,
It's
yeah,
not gonna-
change the date. That's, I think that's imperative.
No, that's good. Yep.
All right, so Tom's gonna contact the banks.
I'll make the initial contacts on those 4 banks.
4. Kim's got CHFA.
I do CHFA, and I'm gonna ask them also, as far as banks go. Because I
Yeah.
think
We asked them. I think when they were here, we asked them, and they were like, "We've got our people that we work with a lot, but
okay.
we
well, that-
can't refer you." That was like
okay, well,
basically
this-
what they
that's-
said.
Maybe this may be something different, I don't know.
But that might have been
We'll
for
see.
developer. That might have just been for
Right.
developers, because I think
see.
I think maybe it was Charlie or somebody asked like, "Oh, well, what are some developers to do that?" They go, we can't really
Yeah. So we'll
steer
see.
you in a direction."
Yeah,
It's
but
like,
I think
okay,
we've
great.
got enough names
Yeah,
here
that's
to
what this
Right.
is good for.
get like 2 or 3 people come and present, right? So
Sure.
we're not putting CHFA in a tough spot.
And down
not-
the road, maybe we'll do something with Department of Housing, we'll have, I mean, there's other entities that may,
And
Absolutely.
and then so for the ADU part, I know I've got a contact. I don't remember the company name, and you've got some people who have submitted a lot of permits in town for that type of stuff. That's what I would say would be where to start there. But I'll give you the contact for the other one too. Because they came into my office like a month or 2 ago, and I asked them if this was something they would like to share with any other groups or whatever. It's like, absolutely contact me. So that's their
Okay.
whole business is ADUs.
Terrific.
okay?
So I think we got enough, right? We got Health Human Services, we got Housing Authority, 2 or 3 lenders, and then somebody from ADU. So that's gonna be enough information, I guess, for people.
Have we narrowed it down to a month, a particular month we want to do this in?
I think we need at the
March?
timeline. I'm thinking like end of March, beginning of April by this point. Because
So
we're
right
gonna.
before, everybody springs into action,
Okay.
looking for places in
March,
the
April.
spring,
Yeah.
getting this
Yeah,
out.
it's
before.
about beginning. It's kind of spring market already started by that point, but as far as our lead time, we need a little bit of time to make
Yes.
final decisions,
Absolutely.
nail people in, get a date, and then still have like a month to market it.
Sure. And none of
Plus.
our professional contacts can possibly know if they could do it unless we can give them a time frame.
Right.
Right. Very good.
So, obviously you gotta find out, right, what's available on what dates. So say we're gonna go last week of March, the week of March 24th. Then can hopefully get a day in that week where we can do this, right? Timing wise,
I would say,
6
and
p.m.
preferably in here or there,
Yeah. I mean,
Let's see how many
depending on how
reservations
many
we get.
people we
I
have.
mean, yeah, it depends. I mean, we could, a room down in this facility or the council chambers.
Sure. There's a lot of seats here.
Yeah, this is
Um,
actually a nice setup too.
What is the minimum number of people that we're going to want? And we don't have to make that decision now, but that's something you might start noodling over. Because if we only get a few, at what point do we say, yeah, let's?
What's maybe some, I don't know in town of an event like this, what the experience is, if we get like 10 RSVPs, does that mean that we're going to get 20 people show up? Does that mean we're going to have 5 people show up? I would guess, since it's free, if we got 10 RSVPs, then probably not everybody will come out of those 10 because it's free.
I agree.
You didn't pay anything to be there, you know. That's why we also, I think, want to incentivize them with a, hey, you asked a question. Don't you want the answer to that question? You got to show up to get the answer.
That's reasonable.
Just scheduling other events for other organizations and stuff, a lot of times it's also because it's free, people don't sometimes register until like the day before.
So we'll
So-
put a cutoff date on registration.
We're not going to kick them out if they show up at the door.
No, absolutely. We'll have
So
all the
you can't
walk-ins in
answer-
the world.
No questions, though.
This will give us a
Yeah.
baseline for us to plan
I
for.
don't know. I mean, realistically, like 10. I mean, we'd love to
I
have
mean, if
30
we-
people,
It would
but
be great if we could do the, I mean, we're part of what I call the Central Connecticut Health District, which,
Yeah.
you know, and there's 4 towns. And I always
Yeah.
talk in other things that we do, I always say, well, let's open it up to the 4 towns.
I
And
would
that
open
may-
it up to anybody within driving distance.
You know what I
Move
mean?
to Rocky
Let's-
Hill.
Yeah, you know, if you want to move to town,
Yeah.
or if you want to just know about the programs, and you might want to know about CHFA.
But how do we get this information out? So now that's
Well, social media,
Yeah. The
Facebook.
town has
And-
relatively big distribution list.
And
As
the
long as we get on
website, and I know you can.
Community
everybody
center,
Yeah,
distro
everyone has a
list,
signature
senior
on their
list.
email, so all town employees can attach something to it.
and
You know,
just-
their signature, you know, for a period of time, I can ask and see if they can attach
What
something
about the
to it.
mass mailings that the town can send out? Of course, you have to subscribe to certain groups, but
What do you mean? Email?
A massy, it's expensive.
Like, you mean email or?
the emails, like.
Okay,
emails,
You
okay,
go
yeah.
to the town website, and if you want
Yeah.
to get information
Yeah.
from planning and zoning or blah, 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 you sign
Okay.
up. But if there, actually, we don't have a category on that page then.
No.
No,
first we gotta
but
get-
but
I
the
know,
com-
there have been times
before
where
we
I
can
needed
relay
to
this
get a lot of
info.
I'm already
information
on
out.
several,
I had people
So-
in my department,
yeah.
all their contacts, I
Yeah.
said, do me a favor, can you just hit send to, like, and they just.
yeah,
you
we've
know,
got
You can, there's
Yeah.
ways.
we've got all kinds of. The senior center has a distribution list. The library has a distribution list. The Parks and Rec has a distribution list, and
Every real estate agent in town, we can let them know.
Businesses,
Perfect.
maybe through the Board of Ed. I don't know.
I'd rather
'Cause- 'cause
inundate people
Sometimes,
to hear about
sometimes, I mean, in educating, families about certain things, what better way to
Sure.
give it to your kids?
And we can create a flyer and
Kids
put it in
bring
every
home
bank.
And, you know, you never know.
yeah,
Sure.
Yep.
There's a lot of
Okay.
ways that
yeah, we
you
got
can
stuff
do it.
like that.
So, number of
This
people,
was
I think
good.
we kind of bypass that. So
This
we,
was-
what, 20 RSVPs as like the minimum? Assuming 50 will show up, all of those 20?
I
I
would
mean, most
prefer,
can show
I would
up, but-
prefer 15 to 20 rather than 10. But I'm open to be persuaded.
Yeah, I mean,
I hope we get more.
I don't know.
Because I
I
totally agree with you that if 20 are gonna sign up, not all 20 are gonna show up. There is
But then
gonna
we'll
be
also
less
have other
number. But you
walk-ins.
could have walk-ins too,
Sure.
but at least
I think we'll know if it goes out and we very quickly get half a dozen RSVPs, okay, we're probably going to be in good shape. But if it's like 1 or 2 and now we're like a week away and there's only like 10, then we're kind of in.
Yeah.
I think that's something that maybe Kim just kind of
And we have to
Keeps
really
us-
chat it up.
keep us a bridge
Yeah.
and we have to just push it out to our own circles and really
That's easy.
squeeze get all those last people in, you know. I'll drag all my clients that are shopping for houses in if we have to.
Yeah.
come on over.
Yep.
All right, so last week of March, get the ball rolling.
Yeah, shoot for last week of March. I was just looking at the calendar to see if there's anything crazy going on.
Regarding that flyer, do we need to use somebody from within? Anybody specific we need to use
I'm sorry.
Oh, to make a flyer?
to make a flyer? because given the information, I can use my wife's expertise to do that. She's pretty good at all that.
First, we need to make sure we tie people down too.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
Yeah.
so we know
but
what
I'm,
to put in
And
the
then
flyer.
we'll get
I'm just kind of thinking like,
Need to-
okay, when we're ready to put it out there, like we have a date, we have
something splashy,
speakers are
something
gonna
that we
come
can-
in.
yeah.
And if you can give me like a broad idea of what the flyer should look like or what information we want on it.
Yeah, I think once we have,
Yeah.
once we know who's confirmed that they're going to be here
Yeah, I can
And a
volunteer
date.
to put that together.
and a location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last, I think one thing, do we need to keep refreshments or?
Well, that might be a good idea to have something,
Keep people awake.
Coffee and
Sure.
cookies,
you know.
caffeine and sugar. So we need to keep people awake.
Yeah.
Very good.
I know at the council meetings, they oftentimes have receptions for if there's like a proclamation or some award given out. They sometimes have refreshments, and it usually goes through HR or something that orders that, so we can figure that out,
Oh,
how
Okay.
that works. You know.
also matters if there's going to be 3 people here, or 25, or 30. Yeah. Cool.
All right, any other comments on the housing forum, or I think we're good for,
I think we have next steps. It's good.
Where are you planning to have it?
so Kim's gonna see what's available either here or the town council room.
Yeah. I know there's
Whichever.
been other forums, like, there was a few years, a drug awareness, forum in the council chambers. And I participated from the ambulance perspective, and I didn't know how well attended it would be. And there were a few people in the audience, and then as it started, the seats filled up, and people were standing in the back. And I was pleasantly surprised about that. So you never know.
You never know, yes, but
So,
I think we need to have that minimum number of people,
Yes.
the more, that's better.
yeah, so you never know.
So
All right.
moving on,
Yeah.
sorry,
No, I was just going to ask if we have anything to report on the I-291.
I had
Kim
sent,
does.
I had sent something over back in December, and I had sent something over again more recently as well. And Ray said, I got it, I need to tell you what happened with the council when they looked to take it over, because they looked to purchase it, in the past. But that's where it's.
He
Okay,
didn't
so we don't know
really
this.
discuss
We don't know
it.
that story.
I don't have that story yet for you.
Okay.
okay.
If it's appropriate and convenient, ask him to include me on that, because I'd like to know.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. Because I know in one of the emails, he did say that it would be because here's my December thing about, with the survey. My December request was, Affordable Housing Committee met last night. After a few months of discussions and conversations with State Rep. Carrie Wood, the committee has decided to ask the town council if they would express interest to the state about acquiring a portion of that property for the town. The committee had also discussed pursuing grant money for a feasibility study for an affordable housing development on that site. Is it possible to add this discussion to a future town council agenda? The undersigned, along with representatives of the Affordable Housing Committee, could be present. And he had come back at that time and said, well, maybe sometime in January or February. I know they're starting to talk budgets now with department heads, so is that putting this off? I don't know. But when I inquired again in early January, I said, okay, January, February, let me
Now-
ask again.
now,
And he
yeah.
said, I have to get back to you on that, and I'll tell you what happened with the council when we
Okay.
looked at
All right.
that, so. I said, okay,
So that's where we are with that.
Okay,
so, not quite sure. So,
thank you for following up though.
trying-
At least it's out there, so hopefully,
Yeah, they
Yeah.
know, they
They-
know
they will
that,
address
that we
it.
have some interest,
right, exactly, right, so.
so.
we're-
And when our department head goes in and talk about his budget, maybe he can put a bug in his ear, I don't know.
And it's been my experience that during budget season, that's pretty much the only thing that
It's
gets
usually-
worked on.
That's right.
It's usually just the budget, so.
Yeah, which is pretty much January to April, something like that. April, no, January to June.
So, moving on, foresee affordable housing trust funds.
I know that had come back, that had come up, I think at one of the last meetings,
Last
the trust funds or the land banks, and I found something from Hartford. You know, the land banks, and in Rocky Hill, you know, I think about land banks and I think about distressed properties or abandoned properties or foreclosed properties. We don't have a
Yeah, we don't
lot.
really have any of
We
that.
don't have a lot of those, but we do have, every year they have a tax sale.
Yeah, no. It's every
Is it
4
every
years.
year?
It's every 4 years.
Okay, but I've seen lists on those properties,
Mm-hmm.
and we've sent violation letters to the majority of
Mm-hmm.
those people or prior homeowners on that list. And I'm saying, well, wouldn't that be nice if you could convert some of these homes to even maybe 2 apartments and make them both affordable?
So
But-
we just did the tax sale, I think, in 2022 or 3.
Yeah, it was not too long ago.
It was, I think it was maybe 2023. I think it's every 4 or 5 years or something like that, per like state statute or something. And really, once it gets to that point, that it's like so far gone, like the owner or it might be an estate or it might be something, you know, that the owner they've been given a lot of opportunities for somebody to take that property over, to pay off their liens, to fix it up, to do all that. And so I went to the tax sale when it was here last time. And going into that day, there were 6 properties, I think, that were going to be auctioned, and it ended up only being 2. And 2 or 3. It was a condo, a house, condo and 2 homes, I think. And that it had whittled down over time as eventually, because it's public record, so investors start chasing down that homeowner and saying, hey, yeah, I'll pay off this debt if you sell me your property, because of the way the market is now, almost everybody has equity in their house, no matter what condition it's in. But it's usually, in Rocky Hill, it's usually that one-off residential property that is delinquent taxes, or it's such a state that, or that the ownership of it is in such a state that they don't want to work with anybody on anything in general. Hartford, obviously, and the cities have a lot bigger problem with that,
Yeah.
where they have abandoned, dilapidated properties that owe back taxes, and they have a process of taking those properties back through seizure, forfeiture, whatever, and then they sell them to the land bank. The land bank has the ability to clear out old liens. The land bank gets money from different NGOs, and then they fix up the properties, and they do a lot of great work, actually. Like, I'm pretty familiar with the land bank. They take properties that have been falling apart, trash all over the place, broken windows, all that stuff, tons of old water bills. They've got lead pipes and asbestos and everything, and then they come in and they have local tradespeople that live in the city rebuild them and then they sell them to typically people that meet the criteria for affordable housing as well as local owners of them too. But it is a slog and it's very expensive because it might be a property that's going to cost $500,000 to fix it. And it's only worth, after it's all done, it's only worth 400,000. So like how, who else would do that but a nonprofit that gets the side benefit of cleaning up their city? Rocky Hill, I just don't think we have a lot of those properties.
We don't really have that.
The value of the bare land is significant.
Yeah.
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 Well, it came up as a mention that people wanted to know more about it, so.
Yeah, well, I think it's been part of the discussion in previous affordable housing plans and stuff like that was, is there an ability to put a small charge on every permit and then that goes into a bank account and then that bank account can be used towards making affordable housing? I think that's something that people have brought up a few times. Residents have brought up, like, whatever happened with that, But there's some legalities around that too, which I think were identified in an article that you had shared with us, I think, early on, about whether you can charge everybody for that, But this is a good guide if we want to learn up on land banks and how they work.
Well, if not now, somewhere in the future, we'll be rediscussing it. I'm sure it'll affect our town.
Well, hopefully we never have a ton of distressed properties,
No, I agree.
Yeah, this is nice. So, do we have anything else on that?
Thank you.
So I understand from the last planning and zoning meeting, you had brought up that, some of these language that we're talking about changing.
Yeah. No, this wasn't the language, these were
These
ideas.
are other things.
These were ideas.
Oh, okay.
That was raised by this committee. That was brought up at last month's planning and zoning meeting.
Okay.
So concerning item 2, which is the definition of accessory apartment, to make sure it includes the word detached, basically, because that was the intent under the other 2 sections of the regulations to allow for detached accessory apartments as well. And that word detached wasn't included in the definition, so we just want to make that consistent. They were wholeheartedly in favor of that, but once again, it's a text amendment. It has to go through that process. So that'll appear on a future agenda for them.
Okay.
As far as item 4, to modify the regulations to allow for separate utility lines for detached structures and ADUs, they were in favor of that as well. So that will appear on that same agenda as a regulation amendment. So that's item 2 and 4. That was the tiny houses, the allowance of tiny houses. I did a brief discussion on that, because keep in mind, this was at the end of the agenda, and at the end of the agenda, they always want to go home, because our meetings go late. So, they basically want to be educated about tiny houses.
Sorry, they
They want to be educated more
Okay.
about
Good.
tiny houses, which is great. So we're giving them the building codes, because it's under Appendix AQ in the building code. They have a whole section on tiny houses, and they all have to meet the building code, and they can't exceed a certain square footage. So they want to know more about it before they decide to do a regulation. And they may or may not decide to do a regulation, but they want to be educated about that. So that's a plus. Concerning the addition of affordable housing set-asides in all residential districts, the high percentage in the town center district, when mixed use is proposed, they had, that can certainly be proposed as a regulation change. They mentioned that, they're gonna be doing the POCD, and that's a whole nother discussion. And the regulations may change. They typically change after that anyways. But we can propose that to them and say, while the regulations are the way they are now, we can do a percentage of affordable housing in each of the residential zones. As far as if you're doing a subdivision, so many units need to be designated affordable as defined by statute. Obviously, we're not getting a lot of subdivisions in right now,
Right.
as quite evident by our agendas. But multifamily housing, we've been asking whether or not it's required or not. We ask.
Yeah.
We've been asking for it, and we've been getting a percentage. So that's helpful, but it would be nice if we just have it in our regs, so that will be included in the amendments as well.
And your sense of P and Z, were they in favor?
I think
of
so,
that? Okay. Thank you.
We'll sell them on it.
yeah,
We'll give them the
When this-
hard.
when this-
When it gets close, we'll give them the hard sell.
yeah. When this comes up, then I will ask for representatives from this board to attend the meeting.
Right.
Obviously, if we have a quorum, then we have a meeting, so it'll be a special meeting of this board.
So Kim, one question on the tiny houses where they said they need more information. Is it something that they want us to go and speak to them about, or?
It didn't come up that way, but that's something that you could certainly do. We could add you to an agenda, we could add this group to an agenda to educate them. That's something that could be
I'd be
done.
happy to work on it, but I'd like to know, or it's 2 months in the future, have
Okay.
X, Y, Z for that date, and then,
Yeah.
you know, whatever, you'd have to find out from the committee members, a range of, excuse me, what they were looking for.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Just
I do
know
it. Are you talking about next month or 5 months away?
Probably in between there. How's that? In between.
To
there.
5 months.
March again, maybe.
Yeah, but and that's nice because that communication would be opened up and they,
And again, are they interested in someone putting a single-family unit on an existing lot with a primary home? or
that could be the issue. That could be a
And then from there, it
scenario.
goes exponential to.
That could be a scenario, or it could be like in Meriden, we were talking about, they actually did a development of,
Yeah, basically, it's a 20,000 square foot lot, I believe, with, I forget, 15 or whatever it was.
but see, we're getting into like middle housing, that whole middle housing type of regulation. They're not, those units are more attached units, say like four to 10 units attached on a property versus
But
this.
see, that can be,
So-
Like an apartment.
the,
Yeah.
you know, the I-291 property that, you know, we're chasing them, like, say that comes to fruition. I mean, I think tiny homes is, it's gonna be in play big time, because that might mean we could add, I don't know, 5 more units. Sure.
Yeah. There are lots of opportunities. I mean, I left the room, I don't know, have you discussed where the status of our recommendation for 291 land is?
Okay, I had sent something over to the town manager in December, early December. I read that memo, asking about getting that onto a council agenda. And then I sent it again in early January, and he said that he'd like to talk to me about what happened, I guess, in the past with the council with that property.
Well, whether we hear or not on it, it's at a point where the Affordable Housing Committee has voted to say that we're interested in doing that. And let's say one alternative use for it would be tiny homes. Well, how would it lay out? What are the adjacent uses? They're primarily single-family, larger, maybe two-story, but that's a pretty heavily wooded a place, so there's a natural buffer.
Tree houses. We're building tree
And
houses.
so on, and there could be a single long cul-de-sac or loop road or whatever. I think it's a good way to express something instead of the abstract, where there are these little things, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So I would approach it that way. Has somebody done that similar? Well, in Meriden, they did it, but they did it on a very symmetrical, small lot. Here, there's a greater opportunity. What impact would it have on Rocky Hill, Route 3? There'd be a little more traffic, but all the natural shopping and, you know, bus routes and all that. It's not like they have children, probably. Well, maybe, I don't know. So, I mean, it's just having something, that's the wrong word, concrete, but physical,
Yeah.
in a location that people are familiar with. I just think it makes it a lot easier. How would it fall within the rest of the planning and zoning process and so on?
Is that a question? Is that a question as far as the
No,
presentation?
I mean, just, I think if I were defining, going to speaking to the Planning and Zoning Commission, I was there once, that it's a way of, it's not abstract, it's real, and I think that they would understand better.
It's like a pre-app without having an application.
Right.
Yeah,
Where it's like, you know, playing a
Pre-app.
game.
yeah.
We can think we did a great job at the end, and they're all.
Guys,
Thank
I
you.
gotta step out a little early today, but
Very good.
Thank you.
good seeing you.
You can call.
What's that?
You can call.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Forward to hearing about the POCD.
Okay.
Yep. POCD is your,
Go ahead.
Okay.
your
POCD.
baby.
I talked about this last evening with the Planning and Zoning Commission. It is, I worked the dates backwards because it has to be either updated or amended, changed somehow, and have a public hearing and be wrapped up by the end of June this year. So, based upon circumstances, and a lot of it was my own personal circumstances that kind of put things off. I spoke with our department head, and I also spoke with our town manager as far as this being kind of a cursory update as far as the initial pass, just to meet the guidelines per state statute. And thereafter, we would meet on a regular basis to actually update the document. We will be including in the POCD the Affordable Housing Plan, which was a 22 to 27
Good.
document. So when that gets updated, the POCD will get updated also. To include the community resiliency plan. So there were things that were going to go in the plan anyways that were being worked on. That was done in the summer with several town staff, several utility companies, other agencies in the town and the state, and there were representatives. I think there were like 26 total. That came together, and it was an exercise put on by the Nature Conservancy and Sustainable CT. They were the facilitators. So that document will go into the POCD as well. The Hazard Mitigation Plan, which was put together by the town of Rocky Hill and Capital Region Council of Governments, that will be going into the plan also. And then we, Planning and Zoning, and I will be looking at the goals, objectives, and strategies that are in our existing 2015 POCD, what we have accomplished already, and basically removing those and updating a few of the things. We need to meet the letter of the statute.
Of course.
And then get the public hearing done. Have public meetings along the way, and then thereafter, I told the commission we need to meet on a regular basis to actually update it and
You have a
talk
lot on
about-
your plate.
I do. I do. I do. But there was unfortunate personal circumstances that did kind of get things in the way of me getting to do this, so it's on me, so what can I say?
Life.
Yes, life gets in the way of life sometimes, so, but it's doable, the way the approach that we're gonna take, because we have to do it. We did put out an RFP, there were 5 firms that did take copies of the RFP and take copies of our plan of conservation and development, and due to the dollar amounts, they told us it was not enough money, so.
Right.
So that's how that was left. So we will be, I'll be coming to this commission to go through my little survey as far as POCD and what you folks would like to see. Obviously, we got to put it all together and see what floats to the top, but the Planning and Zoning Commission, they're the ones in charge of preparing it.
Understood.
But know that your affordable housing plan will be part of the document. So,
Right, so any other topics we wanna?
Yeah,
Right.
I had something, I don't know if anyone's aware, but Simsbury has been also really into researching affordable housing. And, they're looking at regulatory changes. And one of the things I read is that, they're hoping to get administrative approval for ADUs instead of, full hearings, which are more time consuming.
we already have that.
We already have that?
We used to
Yeah.
allow it by special permit, which was
Yeah.
a mandatory public hearing.
Okay,
And now we have it through a zoning permit where people, here's the regulations.
Yep.
You do a write-up and a plot plan, because if you have to add on,
Yep.
you may have to do a plot plan and get the building, that
so
way.
that's good, we're already
And
doing
then,
that.
and then we just do a sign-off.
Okay, so that's good, because I was reading that, and it's like a real big roadblock for them.
Yeah,
They're
we
trying
used to have public hearings. Did you had to go through the public hearing process, I believe,
Yeah.
Charlie. Correct? Correct? Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
yeah. So that's, yeah. That was done a while ago.
Yeah,
That was done a while ago, so, yeah. And for a while, when it first came, first came out, we had a rash of them. And then, no. So, I think education about that
Yeah.
will help. Because, it's always started out with, well, I think it's gonna be from my in-laws or my parents, or maybe my adult child that doesn't wanna leave home, but, not necessarily. It could be, I just want a renter because my mortgage is too high, and it would be nice if someone would just help me pay my mortgage, so,
okay, good.
yeah, so.
I'm having a hard time hearing with my hearing aids with the machine, but I think when I walked out, you talked to the council about a replacement for the lady who passed away, is that correct?
No, you and I were talking.
Okay, but isn't that something?
That's something we have to,
get
we
resolved,
have to
so
resolve that.
we can spread
Yes,
the
I talked
load?
to the town manager, I also talked to HR, because the question was, the town ordinance talks about having someone that lives in an affordable unit. We had a member that had passed away that lives in an affordable unit. There's another individual that had submitted an application from that same complex, and I personally think I should just reach out to that person, but they were council appointments. So I can certainly reach out to that person, see if that person's still interested in participating, and then the council still would have to probably appoint.
Do you need us to take a vote to do that?
No. If you'd like to, you can.
Your
It's up to
approach
you.
makes sense.
I think Rebecca added a lot of good input that
I
none
do-
of us
I do
have,
too.
or could have.
I do too.
I
So-
just think we need to fill the void.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that, we have more ideas, we have somebody who's living there, the type of housing that we're talking about sometimes. So there's that, and again, we need to find out what's going on with the I-291, because if it's gonna take 7 months for the powers beyond us to give us a green light or a yellow or a red, then we need to know. It's a logical source, there are people willing to make it happen, the deed exists. And then
Yeah, you have the
more due
survey.
diligence that
Yeah,
needs-
you have the survey. I know we met with Kerry Wood to talk about it as well, so.
So if it's administrative, just put your boots on and get kicking.
Alright, one item I had is, we have the next meeting scheduled on February 6th. It's 2 weeks from now. Do we wanna have that meeting, or given that, we have enough that we need to, everybody needs to work on, we're gonna cancel that meeting and then meet on March 6th?
I'm sorry.
Why don't we keep it and then make a call that week to see if we need it?
And keep in mind, the group can always do special meetings. Those meetings on the schedule are regular meetings, and you can always set aside special meetings. Sometimes it's more challenging finding meeting space. Obviously, if it's in 1C, it can be recorded, or if it's in the council room, it can be recorded. Otherwise, it can be recorded by tape. I could do I have a thing I used to use.
Archaic,
I have a thing I used to use in college when I went to.
yeah.
Kim, what's the process for canceling a meeting if we're coming up on it and we feel it's not necessary?
A notice has to be filed on the website, which we're used to doing.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's no big deal.
Yeah.
Okay,
Alright, so we'll leave it on,
And we'll poll. We could poll people to,
okay?
well, my feeling is between you and the chair, you can make the decision.
that's correct. Well,
So, based on the feedback we have within the next 10 days or so,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
beginning of that week, we can
Yeah.
decide.
okay.
And,
So the concentration really should be on the forum attendees. The concentration should be on the forum attendees. I just talked to Human Services this morning, as a matter of fact, before I came in. I walked into the building and I see her every morning. And if she's there, I always stop and chat with her. And so she and I talked about this. And we talked about rental assistance, and we talked about, so I told her I'd get back to her. So,
That's Melissa?
yeah.
Okay.
yep, so list of attendees, the date and location.
Yep.
Um,
I mean,
Is the light
council
gonna be an
chamber,
option?
the council chamber is nice because, I like the setup with the new technology. I know that when they have receptions, or they have something that has hors d'oeuvres or cookies or whatever, is on the side, so they can take a break, or people can go and meander over there. The microphone system is nice. I just like that space.
What's
for-
the seating capacity there?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
100 maybe?
Yeah, I mean,
It's more than if we had it in here, even if we had
Oh, yeah.
tables set up and
Yeah.
chairs, so.
Yeah. I mean, they also, sometimes they have meetings in there. We do staff training in there where they do the round tables with maybe 6 people at a table. They do that also sometimes for meetings if they have outside groups come in. So there's other ways to set up that space.
Alright. Any other business? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Appreciate your time.